The Vorthak armada stretched across the void like a metallic plague, their biomechanical ships pulsing with the stolen life force of a dozen conquered civilizations. Admiral Chen Wei stood on the bridge of the Defiance, humanity's last dreadnought, watching the enemy formation through the tactical display. 10,000 ships against their pitiful fleet of 57 vessels, what remained of Earth's once mighty navy. "Sir?" Communications Officer Rodriguez's voice cracked. "The Elthrani High Council is requesting immediate surrender terms." Chen's jaw tightened. The Elthrani, those supposedly wise ancient beings who had ruled the galaxy for millennia, had lasted exactly 47 hours against the Vorthak. Their crystal cities lay in ruins, their telepathic networks severed, their god-emperor reduced to cosmic dust. The proud Zephyrians, with their plasma technology that could ignite stars, had fallen in 3 days. The machine minds of Nexus Prime, calculating beings of pure logic, had computed their own extinction in less than a week. Every galactic power, every ancient civilization, every species that had looked down upon humanity as crude newcomers, all had crumbled before the Vorthak hunger. "Admiral," came the voice of Captain Morrison from the Resilience, "enemy vanguard is moving into attack formation. They're broadcasting something." The main screen flickered, revealing the nightmare visage of a Vorthak war prime. Its biomechanical face was a grotesque fusion of organic tissue and dark metal, with sensory appendages that writhed like serpents. When it spoke, the translation matrix struggled with concepts that had no human equivalent. Flesh spawn of the third spiral. The creature's voice was like grinding gears wrapped in dying screams. "You have witnessed the consumption of your betters. The Elthrani gods lie silent. The Zephyrian star-shapers burn no more. The machine minds of Nexus compute only oblivion. Yet you persist in this futile defiance." Admiral Chen stepped forward, his weathered hand steady despite the tremor in his voice. "This is Admiral Chen Wei of the Terran Defense Force. You want humanity? Come and take us." The War Prime's appendages twitched in what might have been amusement. "Your species has existed for mere cycles. You possess no ancient wisdom, no transcendent technology, no divine heritage. What could you possibly offer that greater civilizations could not?" Dr. Sarah Kim, the fleet's xenobiologist, moved to Chen's side. She had been there when the Elthrani Council fell, had witnessed their psychic screams as the Vorthak consumed their collective consciousness. She had seen the proud Zephyrians' plasma shields crack like eggshells, watched the logical Nexus minds dissolve into chaos. "You want to know what we offer?" she said, her voice carrying across the communication channel. "We offer something those greater civilizations never had. Enlighten us, brief-lived one." "Spite." The War Prime's sensors focused on her with predatory interest. "Explain this concept." Sarah smiled grimly. "The Elthrani ruled through wisdom and divine right. When you broke their gods, they broke. The Zephyrians trusted in their superior technology. When you surpassed it, they surrendered. The Nexus machines calculated odds and accepted logical defeat." She paused, looking around the bridge at her human crewmates. Mechanics from Detroit, farmers from Nebraska, teachers from Mumbai, programmers from Sao Paulo. Ordinary people doing extraordinary things, but we're too stupid to know when we're beaten. Too stubborn to accept the inevitable. Too damn spiteful to roll over and die just because the universe says we should. The Vorthak fleet began its advance, and Chen's tactical officer called out target acquisitions. 57 human ships against 10,000 alien nightmares. The mathematics were impossibly clear. "All ships," Chen announced. "Remember what they took from us. Remember Earth's blue skies. Remember your families. Remember that every second we keep fighting is another second the universe remembers that humanity was here." The first salvo from the Vorthak vanguard tore through space, and the human fleet responded not with retreat or surrender, but with a fury that surprised even themselves. The Defiance led the charge, its railguns spitting projectiles at relativistic speeds while torpedo tubes launched everything they had. Commander Lisa Park, piloting the frigate Audacity, rammed her ship directly into a Vorthak destroyer when her weapons ran dry. As her vessel disintegrated, she transmitted her final words. "That's for Beijing, you bastards." The Vorthak had consumed civilizations that could manipulate time, bend space, and commune with cosmic forces, but they had never encountered a species that would strap explosives to their smallest ships and ram them into Dreadnoughts just to say they tried. Dr. Kim watched the tactical display as human ships winked out one by one, each taking impossible tolls on the enemy fleet. The mathematics still favored the Vorthak, but something else was happening, something the ancient powers had never shown them. The human ships fought with no regard for survival, only for cost extraction. When the destroyer Wolverine lost its main guns, it used emergency thrusters to spin like a buzzsaw, its hull cutting through enemy fighter formations. When the cruiser Determination suffered total system failure, its crew manually detonated the reactor core in the middle of an enemy squadron. What is this madness? The War Prime demanded as its own forces began showing signs of something the Vorthak had rarely encountered: hesitation. This, Admiral Chen replied as he prepared to ram the Defiance into the enemy flagship, is what happens when you threaten a species too dumb to know it can't win. The explosion that followed lit up the void like a newborn star. When the light faded, only 7 human ships remained operational, but they had destroyed nearly 3,000 Vorthak vessels. The enemy fleet sat motionless, sensors processing an impossible equation. "You fought as gods," the War Prime finally said, its mechanical voice carrying a note that the translation matrix could only render as respect. "Yet you are not gods." Captain Torres, now senior officer of the remaining human forces, smiled through blood-stained teeth. "No, we're something better. We're humans, and we're too stupid to know when we're supposed to give up." For the first time in their conquest of the galaxy, the Vorthak Armada turned away from a species that had stood firm where even gods had fallen. In the silence that followed, Dr. Kim transmitted humanity's final message to any survivors listening across the galaxy. "This is what we are. This is what we do. We are the species that stands when others kneel, fights when others flee, and laughs in the face of impossible odds. We are human. Remember us." The stars remembered.